Larson here at the Photo Booth with the stuff I picked up this past weekend at the first ever Toy Pizza Con produced by Jesse, Nikki, and everyone else over at Toy Pizza. Check out their YouTube channel, their Facebook and Instagram for more info about the show, who was there, and pictures and video and stuff. This video is all the stuff I bought at the show and leading up to it and after it. Some very generous folks did stop by the table and give me some things, mostly items that they had created themselves. I'll be showcasing those items over on my Instagram, so make sure you follow me there if you aren't already. First up, my toy weekend actually began on Thursday. Before we even left for the show, we being Mrs. Toy Galaxy and I, before we even left on Thursday, I popped into the old Think Geek store and managed to find both Ron and Hermione from SH Figuarts Harry Potter line super duper clearanced out, which was great for two reasons. One, we already had Harry Potter. I'd paid full price for that, pre-ordered it, and got it when it came out. These two were a little more expensive than I wanted to pay at the time, and so I waited, and my waiting paid off. The second reason that was awesome was because once we got to Toy Pizza Con, the very first thing I bought from Jesse DeStasio of Toy Pizza himself, this was out of his collection, or at least it was at his table. I don't know for sure that it was out of his collection. But got the Severus Snape, which means that we have all the figures that have been released in this line. And as far as I know, all the figures that are going to be released in this line. I don't know if there's plans to do anything else with any of these, but I really did want to get these. Mrs. Toy Galaxy is a huge Harry Potter fan, and this was one of those instances where our interests overlapped, and I really wanted to make sure I got this whole collection for her, so it was great to go from 25% of the collection to 100% in a matter of days. Next up is, before I get to these, I just want to point out this very conspicuous spot in the background here. A certain mischievous Ms. Kitten Wednesday was in the booth earlier today, and she managed to find a little spot, and she opened that spot up to a larger spot. I haven't had time to actually come over and fix the booth up, so you'll just have to deal with that rip in the void of the photo booth here for this particular episode. Thanks, Wednesday, wherever you are. She's in the chair napping. These two pieces, these are from Jack. He is Super Robot King on Instagram. It was great talk. He was set up at the show. Frequent contributor to Toy Pizza. I managed to spend quite a bit of time talking with him about Sentai and Gundam stuff. So that was really great. I purchased the Assault Kingdom RGM 79 figure from him, as well as this Gundam Converge Gundam X, which I haven't opened yet. This might take too long. I don't think I can put this together right now. I should have prepped. Anyway, this is how they look out of the box. I've actually got quite a collection of the Gundam Converge figures now. They just keep popping up, and I can't say no to them. Gundam Assault Kingdom. So there's so many lines. Assault Kingdom is this one. This is a Universal Unit. The difference is two. One, I mean, they're pretty much the same scale. This is a little off scale, just slightly. This Gundam should be a little bit bigger, or the GM should be a little bit smaller. The real difference is that these are considered more action figures. They come fully assembled. You basically just have to put all their bits in their hands and pose them and stuff. There's a little bit more detail on them as well. These Universal Unit figures are more of a model kit. You do have a little bit of assembly that you have to do before you can play with them and stuff. I don't know if this is standard, but this GM's joints are a bit loose, whereas my Universal Unit Gundam that I already had, much tighter. But those are cool, and I wanted to at least check these out, and I will definitely be tracking down this original RX-78 Assault Kingdom figure, because I've already got it in every single other version that I could possibly have it in. Purely coincidentally, Jesse was my man all weekend. The show was only on Saturday, but my next purchase also came from him. It was the Vargas Vermilya from the Four Horsemen's Mythic Legions collection. This is an amazing collection of figures. It's been around for a few years now. It originally started as a Kickstarter. I wanted to go in on the Kickstarter originally. The buy-in price was $30 or $40 or whatever it was. At the time, I couldn't really spare that cash. So I end up picking the figures up later on when I can, when they're available from shops and stuff. They're very rarely in stock on their website, from when I've checked. I've only got 3 figures at this point. I have the basic army builder, like, you know, regular armor knight. I don't know what he's called. That was sent to me by, I believe, the Brandon S. Boker. And then I have Hagnon, who's the partially translucent, glow-in-the-dark, spirit, skull, zombie, prisoner guy with chains and stuff. And then now I have this dude. I would love to get more of them, but they're tough to get. They're expensive, and they're absolutely gorgeous. This is actually a haunted, cursed suit of armor that basically... There was a guy, and he wanted power, and he got more powerful, and he became a vampire, and then he wanted to be immortal, and then he got a suit of armor that gave him all this power, but the suit of armor was cursed, and it sucks his life force out of him, or anybody who wears it. So it's this, like, you know, sort of living cursed suit of armor that's, like, vampiric as well. It's really cool. I couldn't quite figure out how to put this cape on him because it's got these 4 holes. And not sure how it connects in the back. But some people, when I posted the picture of this on my Instagram, gave me some suggestions for how to attach that. So I will give it a shot. The more important thing is, this thing is so cool. And I'm just going to end up going down this Mythic Legions path and picking up some more figures because they're amazing. And I can't not... They're very posable, interchangeable parts and all that. I mean, like, even these horns can come off, and you could put other things on there if you have them. There's all kinds of accessory kits. Anyway, it's a gorgeous line. All you have to do with the look is just look at it to know how amazing they are, and why you should at least check them out, even if you don't buy them. They're great stuff. Couldn't go to Toy Pizza Con and not buy a Toy Pizza Night of the Slice action figure. This was a show exclusive, I believe. This is the Stomper Vector Jump. Vector, I believe, is the armor that this cat here is wearing. I specifically bought this one because I don't have this particular batch of armor in my collection yet. I have several other versions of figures, but this is the only one I have of this. So I don't know exactly. It's all Glyos. It's all the Glyos system of interchangeable parts and limbs and stuff, and that's the beauty of a lot of these sort of indie lines, specifically Toy Pizza's line, where you can take parts off and switch them around with other figures, snap them back on, customize, build, do whatever you want. But I think, yeah, okay, so all these parts are actually armor pieces that fit onto this particular figure. Okay, so that's an arm. I get it. All right. I'll have to play with this a bit. Obviously, I just opened it, haven't had a chance to actually look at this figure or do anything with it since. But it's really, really great. It's got a lot of great little details, some metallic paint on here, just a sweet, sweet color scheme. And I was pretty happy to get this piece at the show and to buy it directly from Jesse and Nikki themselves. And a blast from the past here, now into your present and into your future. Chakan, I don't know if it's Chakan or Chakan, the Forever Man. This was a comic that was produced in the 90s. And then the biggest thing that happened was it was a game on the Sega Genesis that I never played, but producer Greg was very familiar with it. This, I believe, is the second printing from... Yeah, this is the second printing from 1993, originally printed in 1990 by Robert Krause, about the Forever Man here, who... All right, so here's the figure. Basically, what's happening here is that Toy Pizza has partnered with Robert Krause, RAK Graphics, to produce figures of Chakan the Forever Man. You can find out more information at, hang on, this type is really tiny here, knightsoftheslice.com, the Yeti, YETEE.com/Chakan, or RAK Graphics, rakgraphics.com/Chakan. To get the whole story about how those figures are coming along, where everything's at, how you'll be able to purchase them, and what's what. This piece, his eyes are painted here. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there is some color shifting to this figure, but if nothing else, it has an incredible amount of detail and really... Sorry, I'm getting distracted by all this stuff. This works with the Glio system as well. So where I was talking about with the other figure, all these pieces are detachable, interchangeable. That works with any figure that has that Glios system of parts and pieces. Does his hat come off? I can't tell. It doesn't look like it does. I don't want to force it. But a very exciting thing for both Toy Pizza and for Robert Krause to get Chakan out into the action figure world, to make him... Oh, he's got like a ball socket neck. That's cool. To bring him from the ethereal plane into the physical world, to get figures out that I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't know what the plans are as far as different colorways or different versions of this figure that might be available. I assume at some point there would be a fully painted one. Don't quote me on that. I just have the figure. I don't have any particular inside information, but definitely follow up with either Toy Pizza or RAK Graphics to find out more about how you can acquire your figure or learn more about Chakan, the Forever Man. The last piece I purchased at the show. Funny story here. I had some stuff that I had taken to sell at my table. Jesse, Toy Pizza, they were kind enough to not only invite me to the show, but set me up with a table to shop my wares, do whatever I wanted to, hang my banner. So I brought some stuff from my personal collection, from my overflow, whatever, that either didn't really have a place in my collection, was duplicates, or in this case, stuff that I had purchased from collections previously and just wasn't intending to keep, but had just never been able to move. So I tried selling this thing on eBay a couple of times. Thing is I didn't really know what it was, and apparently nobody on eBay knew what it was. It's from Super Robot Wars. This character's name is Huckbine, I guess, Hucke. Here's the box he was in. Hu with an umlaut, Ckebein. I think it's pronounced Huckbine. I don't know. Huckbein, like Michael Bean. I don't know. It's clearly it has some Gundam inspiration, and the whole here's the thing. I finally did the research after like 2 years to figure out what the story actually was here. Super Robot Wars features a lot of regular, established characters: Gundam, Get-A-Robo, Mazinger, those kinds of things. But then there's also some original characters involved with this as well, and it says right here on the box, original generation, and that refers to characters that were created specifically for the series of games that pitted robot against robot. Obviously, this figure here is a homage to Gundam style real robot stuff. This looks like Crossbones Gundam. This looks like, Titans Mark II. It's just cool. But here's the funny part of the story. Dan, get to the funny part of the story. The funny part of the story is I was selling this, and it was sitting on my table, and I had marked super cheap because I didn't really even know what the market value was because I didn't care. I just wanted to pass it on to a collector, cover the cost of the things that I bought that you already saw, and maybe my gas back home. So I wasn't looking to get actual retail value or anything, but I had it so cheap, and it's sitting on my table and nobody's buying it. And I'm thinking, this is the kind of thing that if I came to this show and I saw this, I would buy it. And so I was like, you know what? Forget, I'm going to take it right off my table. I'm just going to keep it. So essentially, I moved $10 from this column to this column. I bought it from myself, for myself, and I'm pretty happy. Thank you to me for thinking of me. You know the kind of stuff I like, and I appreciate you picking this up for me. This is pretty articulated, not quite to the degree of, let's say, Robot Spirits, but it's got a pretty good amount of articulation. I think he's got double-jointed, almost sort of double-jointed elbows, single-jointed knees, little bit of... It's almost more MSIA than it is, or MSIA version 2, kind of like a 1.5, not so much Robot Spirits. Anyway, it's really cool. He's got this jetpack thing. He's got this... launcher dealie on his arm. He's got this gun. He's got a bigger gun. He's got a beam saber because he's basically just like a Gundam anyway. And this is just one of the colorways that he comes in. Anyway, moving on. So Toy Pizza Con was on Saturday. On Sunday, Jesse and several of the other vendors and folks ended up at a flea market in Fishkill. It was called, I wrote it down, Duchess Marketplace in Fishkill, New York. And there's sort of an inside and an outside part. Inside is air-conditioned and shady and nice. Outside is in the blazing hot sun where I almost died because it was so hot and sunny. But outside, I did manage to pick up this sweet X-Men classic Marvel Comics collector's case. Holds 6 figures, comics, and cards. Got Magneto on the side here. Open it up, and you got spot for your cards, spot for your comics, and then spot for your figures on the inside. Weird. It's just weird that Cyclops, I don't know what outfit this is that he's sporting. He's clearly supposed to be in his X-Men issue 1, the gold leader suit, and they put this white X on him instead. I'm going to assume that's to match it up a little more closely with the Toy Biz figure that would have been out at the time, which was more his X-Factor costume, the blue with the white X. I don't know. This is the wrong Havoc. I don't know what's going on here with Nightcrawler. But anyway, it's and Banshee. It's a really cool case. I grabbed it because all those the Marvel Legends retro style X-Men figures are coming out soon, and I thought it'd be cool to keep them with this or display them with this or whatever. I got to clean the front up a little bit here. It's a little this clear plastic's a little dirty, but I think it'll clean up just fine. Also at the flea market. Once inside, there was a box sitting at the main like Toy Guys booth, and this sweet, delicious airplane, this F4 Phantom, this giant F4 Phantom. I think it's 1/32nd scale for how big it is. I didn't know what it was. I saw it. I leaped at it. If anybody had been in my way, I would have tackled them. I grabbed it. I didn't know if it was a model kit, a toy, a vehicle, whatever. It's obviously too small for like GI Joes or anything. The jet is a much smaller scale than that. These figures are probably even smaller than like mask figures. But I wanted it for two. One, F4 Phantoms are awesome. Two, it's VF-84, which growing up, my dad was in a squadron that was sort of like the competitor to this. So in my household, this was always bad. No VF-84, no skull and crossbones here. But when I was more into toys, obviously they were the inspiration for the Skull Squadron from Robotech or Macross, whatever you want to call it. So this is back in the cool column. What I found out was that BBI Toys had this series of jets. It's a good news, bad news situation. So now I know what it is. I know that this Phantom is out there. I know that it's most of the pieces were in the box here. So I think I've got all the missiles here. There's a couple that have a broken fin or two. Unfortunately, I only have the one rack. This one rack here with these two missiles, where it's supposed to actually have two of those racks. Oh well, what are you going to do? I do have the rear landing gear. Unfortunately, I do not have the front landing gear. It's in pretty good shape. Needs a little cleanup. It's very sticky and gross. I need to wipe that down with like some warm soap and water or whatever. These cockpits do open. The pilots don't really come out or anything. They're just sort of in there. But it's gorgeous, and I love it. I have a couple other airplanes from the 21st Century Toys line. P-51 Mustang, the F4U Corsair, and the P-38 Lightning. So I love this kind of stuff a lot. The bad news was that I found out that they also made, so BBI Toys, Elite Force, they also made an F-18, which I was like, oh, that's cool. I wouldn't mind grabbing an F-18. They're about $100 in the box, so that's a little steep, but whatever. If I saw it at a show or something, I'd grab it. If I saw it at a flea market, I'd grab it. Unfortunately, I found out that they made an actual Blue Angels variant of that F-18. My dad was in the Blue Angels. It's always been a part of my family. I need to get that thing, but I'm never going to get it because I looked at the prices. One had sold recently on eBay for like $875, so I was like, well, that's it. Never getting that thing. It was apparently a super limited run. The company or website or whatever that airplane, that variant was released for, they're no longer in business. So I don't know. It's one of those things that just probably never going to happen. But this is cool. I got to find out. It's so old. There was no real reviews or anything on YouTube. I'm pretty sure these fold down to at least get them to the 30 or 45 degree angle that they're supposed to be at. But man, they're so tight, and there's no like button release or anything. I'm just so afraid that they're going to break. And then I'll have to consult with somebody on how to fix it. But anyway, that's that. And then lastly, the end of my toy weekend was actually today. I finally broke down and ordered myself the Lasher figure. Never saw it in my neighborhood. The only piece I needed to complete my Dinosaur Man in lab coat was the head, and that came with Lasher. So I was like, you know what, just hop on eBay, order the thing, and get it finally. So as much as I didn't want to pay as much as I paid for Lasher, and I don't know what I'm going to do with that Lasher figure because I certainly don't want it, I am very psyched to finally have a complete Dinosaur Man in lab coat. That's awesome. And then the last thing to cap the whole thing off was I did get I received my rewards for backing the Chicken Fried Toys. I think that's what they're calling it. Yeah, Chicken Fried Toys, Dime Novel Legends. This was a Kickstarter from a few years ago. Ran into a couple of delays, but it happens. And I, it's like, I can't remember his name, the guy running it, but he was very good about keeping everybody informed and showing the progress. So there was always a promise and understanding that these were going to actually get delivered. It was just a matter of time, and that's how it goes. And he rolled out so many figures in this line with just incredible detail. I haven't opened them yet. It's been so busy today. I haven't even had a chance to get them. But I'm very psyched to get my hands on this Badlands Vigilante, aka the Lone Ranger. I think there's actually a different version of him rolling out in that line as well. This is more the modern take on him from the movie that came out a few years ago. I think there's going to be another figure in the line that looks a bit more like the classic TV Lone Ranger, where it looks more like the actual action figure from Gabriel Toys that came out in the early 80s, I think. But anyway, I'm pretty excited to get these open, take a look at those, and see how they stack up with all my other 4-inch scale figures. Anyway, I had a great weekend, packed with toys in some fun places with some great people. Thank you for watching this and all our videos. Hit like, hit subscribe, check out our Patreon if you're in the position to help the channel grow. Thank you very much. Later.